Joining us now to discuss Democratic Congresswoman Jennifer McClellan of Virginia. Congresswoman, it's nice to have you with us. Happy 4th of July to you. As we look at where things stand with this big, beautiful bill, it's impossible to ignore there are politics at play here, right? I know there has been a lot of talk about how this could hurt Republicans leading into the midterms. As Mark and I were just talking about, this is going to be a focus for both parties. The reality, though, that Republicans have learned a few things from Donald Trump's first term. These cuts that have so many Democrats and Americans concerned don't actually kick in until after the midterms. And so some of the benefits, the broader benefits, are what Americans are going to feel first. How do you counteract that?
Well, I see a number of people who are very concerned about the Medicaid cuts no matter when they take effect. And they're already saying they're not going to vote for anyone that voted to gut Medicaid. I think you're going to see state governments having to grapple with this reality very early on as they do their budgets for next year. And they have to do their budget assuming they're going to get much less money from the federal government. Those states that use the provider tax to pay their share of Medicaid are already going to have to grapple with that. They're seeing holes in their budget as they begin to implement this, and they have to pay that money up front. And they're going to have to make decisions. Do we raise taxes or cut benefits in 2026? So I think people are already starting to feel the pain. We saw a hospital in Nebraska already announce it is closing. We're seeing health clinics around the country that are beginning to close or be at risk of closing now because they can't plan for their future. So between this bill, this big ugly bill, the tariffs and the uncertainty that is creating, and the DOGE cuts, people are feeling pain now, and they're anxious about what they're going to feel in 2026 and beyond.
In terms of, part of what you brought up in terms of how the cuts are going to impact states, where the money's going to come from, Governor Youngkin noted, and I'm quoting him here in an interview, at the heart of the initiative in order to save taxpayer money is asking able-bodied Virginians and Americans who can work to work. He goes on to say, I don't believe there will be people who need services who will have to go without. And he referenced, I believe it's a $900 million fund in the state. And in those comments made it sound like that money could be used. Is it your understanding that those funds specifically in Virginia both could and would be used to cover the shortfall?
They're not going to be enough. See, what the governor doesn't understand, first, you have Virginia has the second highest number of federal employees of any state in the country who have already lost their jobs, and they're not going to be contributing to the tax base, and many of them are seeking unemployment. So that's a cost that the state's going to have to pay. As you're seeing agencies that are in Virginia close or shift or leave, that's going to impact the tax base in Virginia. The cuts to education, we had a number of school divisions that have not received their funding that they were supposed to receive from the federal government. Now, Virginia's going to have to make that up. It's going to have handcuffs on its ability to pay its share of Medicaid right now. They've got to make that up. For the first time ever, they're going to have to pay more for benefits for SNAP. They're going to have to pay that up. These work requirements, Virginia looked at putting work requirements in when we expanded Medicaid, and we didn't do it because we found that the cost to administer it would be not worth it. Georgia found the cost to administer the work requirements, they paid more for that than they paid for care. So if you look at the totality of what this administration is costing the Commonwealth of Virginia, that fund is not going to be enough. I have heard from state legislators and local legislators, they cannot make that up. They are going to have to either raise their taxes or cut services across the board.
When you look at the fight that your party put up ahead of this, the messaging that led up to this point, are you satisfied with that messaging, with that attack, even with the historic magic minute from Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries yesterday?
Gentlemen from the great Commonwealth.
Look, the message is very simple. If you are middle class or make less, you get nothing from this bill. As a matter of fact, you lose. If you make more than $700,000 a year, you like this bill. But this bill is going to take health insurance away from millions of Americans and raise costs for everybody else. Plain and simple. And no matter who I talk to in my district, Democrat, Republican, Independent, rural, urban, suburban, they're upset about it. So, I think we need to reach our voters where they are, reach our constituents where they are, talk about how this bill impacts them. And when we do that, they don't like it.
Congresswoman, appreciate you joining us on the holiday. Thank you.